Trade war. Since Donald Trump's election, his critics have attempted to whip up hysterical opposition to his plans to rebuild America's faltering manufacturing and technology base by addressing bad trade deals and unfair foreign practices that harm the U.S. economy. In particular, they are alarmed about the president's confrontation of the predatory Chinese, who through theft, intimidation, and cyberhacking, have degraded America's growth while boosting China's. Moreover, President Xi Jinping has used the ill-gotten gains not just to build gleaming skyscrapers and technology parks, but also to challenge the U.S. militarily by turning small islands along world trade routes in the South China Sea into armed bastions, and by developing a host of modern weapons, such as killer satellites. In spite of almost 2 decades in the World Trade Organization, China's leaders have continually flouted its rules-based system to amass great wealth illegally while becoming increasingly repressive at home. Internet police, omnipresent surveillance cameras, and advanced facial recognition programs are all part of Xi's efforts to squelch dissent and consolidate power. Many analysts and pundits, in part because of their religious free trade fervor and in part because of their disdain for the president, ignore the Chinese economic threat and growing authoritarianism in order to dismiss the positive impact the president's trade policies can have both on our economy and our standing in the world. In fact, opposition to the president's trade policy has been premature and misguided. Critics apparently believe this country would be far better off returning to previous administration's head-in-the-sand approach, and let China continue its polluting, rapacious economic ways to become the world's manufacturing and technology superpower. Trump, in contrast, realizes China is using every trick available to steal U.S. technology, our seed corn for future growth. He wants a new era of fair and balanced trade bringing prosperity to all Americans, not just the coastal elites, and has the foresight to understand that current trends can only end badly for America in the large majority of its citizens. The president's strong views on trade should surprise no one, not even the Chinese. They are coherent and on the record, dating back to the 1980s. And although critics always want to label him intemperate and hasty, Trump's actions have been deliberate and measured since taking office. At the Mar-a-Lago summit, he asked Xi to develop an ameliorative plan in 100 days, but the Chinese came back with a fig leaf. Trump patiently continued to praise Xi, asking him to address trade imbalances, but to no avail. Only when China refused to engage seriously did Trump move toward tariffs. First, $50 billion, then, when the Chinese responded with their own tariffs, instead of responding to U.S. concerns, the president put another $200 billion in place, but at 10%, giving the Chinese time to act before the tariffs jumped to 25% at year's end. Also see, Trade War Tracker. Here are the new levies, imposed and threatened. The Chinese have answered with further stonewalling, propaganda, and cancellation of trade talks. Perhaps the communist leaders in Beijing, misled by anti-Trump hysteria here, think that they can wait him out, hoping for a disaster in the midterm elections. Larry Kudlow, chief White House economic advisor and a known advocate of free trade, summed up China's attitude by saying, "I have become very cynical, because we've given our asks and China does not respond. I worry that they're moving in the wrong direction." Further, Trump has not been constrained by electoral politics. He recently announced a U.S. pullout from an international convention that gives Chinese shippers access to the U.S. Postal Service at a concessional rate. The president is proving focused and relentless. Additionally, Trump, moving beyond his new trade pacts with Korea, and Mexico and Canada, is also getting ready to negotiate trade deals with the Europeans and the Japanese, parties that Beijing has been actively trying to alienate away from us. What does China do next? It's hard to know. White House sources are quoted as saying the president is only at the beginning of the beginning. That's bad news for President Xi. His economy is already slowing, and his very legitimacy is based not on the will of the people but on producing sufficient economic growth. Unfortunately for him, that growth is based on the systemic theft of American intellectual property, technology, and know-how, and Trump is determined to put a stop to it. Moreover, once Trump signs free trade deals with the European Union and Japan, two entities crucial to China's divide-and-conquer strategy, the prospect of Xi outflanking the U.S. and avoiding direct talks will severely diminish. Thus, Trump is challenging not just the set of Chinese policies anathema to free markets, but the very basis of the dictatorial Chinese political system. He is fighting for America's core democratic values in the face of Chinese authoritarianism. His critics should applaud his strategy, not bemoan it. Want news about Asia delivered to your inbox? Subscribe to MarketWatch's free Asia daily newsletter. Sign up here.